are you today? I'm very excited to be sharing this session on cultural events. I'm going to be covering two very key topics: planning, programming and curation. Well, I would just start by talking a little bit about myself. I wanted to be a journalist, but then I was introduced to the world of events, and since then I've been here. There's been no looking back. I'm an executive producer with one of India's leading arts and entertainment company, Teamwork Arts Private Limited in New Delhi. We do a number of interesting things in the field of culture, arts, which includes dance, music, puppetry, theatre, and so much more. Well, but this session is not so much about me, but about understanding cultural events. So growing up, we've all been to a number of birthday parties, weddings, melas, get-togethers, theme parks. All of these collectively make the idea of cultural events. So what happened about 20-30 years ago, we all remember going to birthday parties or weddings which was organized within a family. So what happened there? Well, a family member would be responsible for the catering, somebody would take care of the flowers, somebody would be responsible for the clothes. But in all of this, the family, in a way, did not get the chance to actually enjoy the event. So that's where we came in. And in the last about 10 years, the whole idea of event curation, event planning, cultural events has really developed tenfold. So I'm going to break this down into a few presentations. I have put together a few very basic presentations for you to understand how the entire planning process of a cultural event takes place. We've grown up learning the WHs of this, the WHs of that. So what exactly are these WHs? Well, they are why, what and how. Well, there are a number of other Ws that we can talk about, but let's focus on the three first. So why? To begin with, why do we do an event? Why do we do your birthday party? To celebrate, to get to know your friends, to meet your friends, to have a good time. Or a wedding, for instance. Well, we do a wedding to the union of two people. So the first and foremost reason behind why to do an event is community development, is to bring the community together, is to empower them, is to teach them something, is to make them aware of what is happening. So, you have all of these get-togethers. The simple definition of a cultural event is some place where people come together, share an experience, a collective experience, and take back with them something which is very, very personal to them. So that's what cultural events are. And the first is community development. The second is education and awareness. India has the dearth of art and culture. There is just so much happening. However, a lot of people are not aware of the things happening. Do we know what the folk tales or what the folk traditions of Rajasthan are? Or internationally, how India is only recognized for butter chicken tikka masala or Bollywood? Well, there's so much to India, and that's where the second why of cultural events come into the picture: education and awareness. You start an event or you do a cultural festival to remind people, to educate people of what is actually there in store for them. So for example, if you do go to the Kumbh Mela, the awareness is about the Sangam, it's about the whole mythology that's behind it. So that's where education, awareness, or there are events on empowering girl-child education or empowering your expression of freedom. So this is where the second point comes in. The third and the most important is entertainment. Well, we only go to an event or we attend to get ourselves entertained. Something to remember by, a music tune to remember, or a particular scene in a movie to remember, something that we can take back. So, cultural events are basically a source for us to break the daily monotony of our lives. So, we basically go to like a music festival or a theatre festival, which is different from what we are doing on a regular basis. So, the third very important aspect is entertainment. The fourth, revenue generation. Now, this is where India lags a bit as a country. Abroad has a number of grants, they have a number of policies where art is supported or cultural events are supported. There's a lot of community support when organizing. So here is a very important why. Why we need to organize cultural events is to be able to generate revenue. Of course, there's Bollywood, there's the film industry down south, which generate a lot of revenue. But what about the actual core cultural events? So I would take the Jaipur Literature Festival as an example. Now, this has been the 13th year of the Lit Fest in Jaipur. The people in Jaipur, by the time of November, December, are all prepped up. There's increase in tourism, there's increase in the number of hotels that are bought in around that time. Even the rickshaw wala in Jaipur knows that there's an event happening and he's prepped up. He has bought maybe 5 more rickshaws. He's got his friends to start, or the Ubers or any other cabs that you have there. So that is an important part of revenue generation. India is still far, far, far from a place where arts will play or cultural events will play a key aspect in the overall economy. But with the times that are changing, why not explore this? Because just to reiterate, I just said that India has a dearth of cultural art events, and that can be monetized in ways that we haven't even explored yet. The last is soft power and diplomacy. So we live in times where there is so much happening. There's hunger, there's disease, there is war, there is inequality in the society. So what is it that brings people together? Well, that's cultural events. So you take an Indian art form and you take it to Egypt or you take it to Turkey, and the locals come and experience the art form, the culture, and that's empowering us. That is making us take our culture to the world outside. And that's a little bit about soft power and diplomacy. These are all really detailed topics, especially about revenue generation and soft power and diplomacy, which are in a lot of ways correlated. And these are topics that can be covered in detail in some of the future segments. So we're done with why. Now the second question comes to what, the second W. What are we doing? What are we selling? What are we actually curating? Well, we are also going to be talking a little bit about programming and curation in one of these slides as part of the presentation. So the what is very specific. What is the medium? So is it going to be a digital event like what's happening in today's time? Is it going to be in a palace? Is it going to be in a proscenium theatre? Is it going to be in a ballroom in a hotel? So what is the medium? What is the platform that you're actually reaching out to? Are you only going to do a physical festival where a person has to buy a ticket and come to you? Or is it going to be something where people can also have a look at it on social media, or people can access it online somewhere, or can hear it on radio? So this is what the what is all about. The content that you're putting out, the program. But I'll talk about the what in my next slide. The most important is how are we doing it? And for this, while we've done our WHs, what I've done is I've done my own understanding of the how in 4 E's and 1 F. So I'm going to take a very simple example of a birthday party. The first E is excitement. So, well, you know your friend's birthday is upcoming, you keep asking, what are you up to? What are your plans? Is it going to be a theme party? Are we going to go out somewhere? So the first and foremost part of a cultural event is building that excitement, is letting people talk about it, that is it going to be the Kabira festival in Banaras? Is it happening this year? When is it happening? Who's performing? And that's the excitement. That's how we're going to be doing a cultural event, is building that excitement. Telling people, giving them tidbits, give them very little to think about. If you give them everything in one go, they're going to forget about it. The human brain, the Indian audience they literally have a goldfish's memory, trust me. So if you keep giving them information in small tidbits, you keep telling them what to do. So today we have a program, tomorrow we have an artist who's performing, the day after could be talking about the delegate program, and so on and so forth. What happens is that the excitement stays continuous till they actually reach the event. The second E is the experience. So what are you actually coming to a festival for, or a cultural event for? Networking, for a retreat, to eat good food, to listen to good music, to meet a friend, or it's it's an ongoing plan that you've made for a year, it's like a holiday that you've planned. So what is the experience that you're actually coming for? So that's the second how. How are you building that experience? So when a person comes to the festival or a cultural event, they are welcomed at the entrance, then they get a badge that they can wear around their neck. Some of the festivals may have a goodie bag. Some places might have a particular dish or a particular cuisine that they're going to make like a welcome drink, for example, or they have like a welcome starter, or they have something that the people are going to try, eat. Then there's the music or the sessions they're going to listen to, or the friends that they're going to make, the networking part of it. All of those are a 360-degree experience that needs to be there in a cultural event. So let's take, for example, the Jaipur Literature Festival. So the first experience, so we are all about the tactile experience, something that the people can feel, something that the people can smell, something that they can take back with them. So you enter the festival, you're welcomed by one of the welcoming committee people, you're made to feel at home, you're introduced to all the sessions that are there on the day. You know, you could actually be a person who's writing a book for the first time, and you happen to meet somebody who's a publisher, and that's the experience that you've been waiting for the longest time. So this is the second E that we're talking about, is experience. The third, engagement. So now that you've given them so many experience, there are food stalls and there's music, how are they actually engaging with it? Are they clicking a picture and putting it on social media? Are they telling their friends that, hey, I'm here, why don't you join me here? Are they curious to know how an event is put together? So the third part is the engagement, that while you've curated everything for them, you've given them everything, are they actually engaging with it? So that's the third how, the part of the third how, which is the engagement, that how are you ensuring that if I do have a music concert, somebody's actually at the music concert, somebody's actually swaying, clapping their hands and enjoying the concert. So that's the engagement part. Embarked memories. Well, this is about what are you taking back. So it's been 5 days of the Jaipur Literature Festival, you're tired, your feet hurt, but what is it that you're taking back? Well, of course, you're taking back the experience of meeting somebody new. Maybe you're taking back a merchandise with you. It could be a mug, it could be a t-shirt, maybe you're taking back a book, maybe a photograph, a super liked picture on Instagram. So this is what the fourth how is. How are you going to ensure that everybody who steps into your cultural event takes back an embarked memory, something that stays with them for life. 10 years later, they can show it to somebody and say, hey, you know what? I went to this cultural event and I got this memory with me. And the last is feedback. Nothing is going to be complete without feedback. Processes, cultural events, all of these are work in progress. Nothing is 100% foolproof. Nothing can be idiot-proofed in one go. You have to get feedback. Maybe what you think appeals to your audiences, maybe 90% of what is appealing to them. And there's always 10% that you can make a difference, you can rework on it, and you can continue making your event, a cultural event, a success. So these are the hows that we're going to do a cultural event. So what you see are some pictures from the Jaipur Literature Festival. You can see some of the speakers. That's so, you know, if you're talking about how, the experience, the excitement. So here you have speakers on the screen, you know, you are seeing, listening to the stalwarts in the world of literature. On the next image is of actually the decor. So you can see the flavor of Rajasthan. You can see that, you know, when you're walking in, you can actually feel like you're walking into a palace. There's another picture of a session, and the last picture is actually of the crowd. Well, this does look utopian in the times that we are in, but well, this is the reality of cultural events. Well, so I was talking about the what, and in that I kind of spoke about programming and curation. So when we are thinking, ideating a cultural event, or I would just go back to the simple logic of a birthday party. So we are living in times where birthday parties, you know, if it's your 5th birthday, it's a milestone birthday. If it's your 25th birthday, it's another silver milestone birthday. You have to think of a theme, you have to think of a color. You have to also think about who are you doing it for. Are you doing this birthday party for just your friends? Are you doing it for your family? Are they going to be older people? So who are you actually programming and curating this for? So there are a number of parameters that there are when we are doing a programming and curation of a cultural festival. The first is artist-led. So this is where the focus is entirely on an artist. So how you have these world tours of, you know, like you have comedians or you have bands, like, you know, just recently last year we had one of international leading bands coming to Mumbai and doing a concert. So these are artist-led. So, you know, you have the artist who wants to do, and he gets in touch with his publishers and with the people who are working with him, his marketing team, communication team, and they say, let's do a tour. So this is an artist led, so they kind of chalk out, they reach out to the different venues, they reach out to different organizers in those particular country, and this could be like Asia centric, it could be like a West centric, it could be just America, it could be like a city tour. So these are all artist led, where an artist, if I have curated a theatre piece and I decide that, hey, now I need to take this theatre piece to different parts of India. So that's an artist led programming and curation. The second is responding to the audiences, which is current and new. So this, see, like I said, everything is correlated. So from the feedback that we receive, we kind of realize that what is the audience responding to? What is it that the audience likes? I may have come to a Sufi music festival and I realize that the content is probably a lot Bollywood than Sufi. So I am a current audience and and the organizer has to ensure that I keep coming back to the festival. So that's where the organizer will respond and maybe say, okay, so we kind of revamp the programming and make it 80% of actual Sufi. We probably get more artists from countries maybe from the Middle East or maybe from Africa or maybe other countries from the West who do have a Sufi led bands, and bring them on the platform and maybe do a few highlights of the Bollywood or maybe do a poetry based or something else. And also developing new audiences. So it's about, when we spoke about educating your audience, people in today's time have access to so much. There are these OTT platforms where they're constantly given content. There is so much online, there's so much that people are reading, people have access to, with the economy changing, people had access to going internationally, seeing festivals and acts abroad, and the new audience is very advanced. They have a set idea of what they're expecting. If they're going to pay a certain amount to a cultural event, it has to fit their lifestyle, it has to fit what they're expecting. So the second type of programming is done. For example, you have these food festivals that happen in Delhi very often. So it is in a way responding to the new audience that may not have the possibility of going to a fancy restaurant, but they would love to go to a place where they have the option of those 25 restaurants. There's an open area for them, there's music for them. So that's the second part of programming, which is the second type of programming, which is responding to audiences. The third is thematic. So you pick a theme and you build a festival or a cultural event around it. One great example would be one of the festivals that Teamwork does is called Kabira, and this festival is basically around the mystic poet Kabir. So all of the programming across the 3 days, the festival takes place in Banaras. So that adds to the theme because that's where it's considered that Kabira was born there, he kind of spent his life there. So you start with, the first part is where's the venue, which is adding to the theme. So you take a Varanasi. Tomorrow if you were doing something around, let's say Mahatma Gandhi, if you wanted to do a Gandhi festival, you would probably go to an Ahmedabad or a Gandhinagar. So that's the first part of doing a thematic cultural event. Moving on, what is the content? There is poetry, there's music, but everything is curated around the concept of Kabira. So this is what thematic, so the badges, for example, they are not plastic badges, they are organic badges which look like beads. So again, it's creating, so whoever walks into is kind of transformed back to centuries where they're actually feeling that this is the Banaras or this is the Varanasi of the mystic poet Kabir. So that's an example of a thematic festival, curator led. This is the one which is actually so to control the quality, to make sure that it's actually reaching out to the people. You have some, you're capping the number of entries, artists that are coming on board. You have curator led. So you get on board an expert and you say, hey, you are an expert in theatre or you're an expert in visual arts and you curate a cultural event for me. So the curator is then responsible. One of the best examples would be the Jaipur Literature Festival. So while we do not have curators, but we have directors who are responsible for bringing in the content that comes to the festival. So what happens is one of the directors is responsible for bringing in content from India, because the Jaipur Lit Fest has a lot of content in not just Hindi but other regional languages. And there's another director who's responsible for bringing in content from internationally. So these are the important way that a curator can add their experience to a cultural event. And the last is of course responsive and celebratory. You have a Diwali Mela or the Kumbh Mela, for example, or like the Ram Leela Maidan Mela that happens. These are a celebration that you're doing, or like a 50th anniversary of a particular venue, or you're doing the birth anniversary of a particular person. And these are the last category, which are responsive and celebratory events. Well, I've covered the WHs and I've spoken about the programming and curation. But now the most important part is on you. Well, I'm sure you've all been to a number of cultural events in your own city, in other cities. Some of you may have seen events outside India as well. So now is the time to put together your WHs and curate a festival. And I would love to hear from all of you if we are able to connect. Because like I said, the future lies in culture, the future lies in arts, and it's the ones like you who've taken up a course will be the ones who take this forward. Before I end, because we've been talking about cultural events, I would love to show you this video. So this is an event we did in Australia about 4 years ago at the prestigious Sydney Opera House. Like I said, some of you would know what the Sydney Opera House is. You must have seen it in a number of films, Bollywood films or international films. So here, when I talked about awareness and education, we took Indian artists who were doing Sufi music, Odissi, Bollywood, choreography, dance, workshops, and we took them to Sydney. We got in touch with Aboriginal dancers, we got in touch with a choir, we got in touch with a number of local, so in Sydney is a very multicultural town, multicultural city in Australia. So there are a lot of people who do their own Kathak schools or Bharatanatyam schools. But these are also local Australian kids who are actually learning Bharatanatyam and Kathak. So we got them all together and we curated this beautiful gala at the Sydney Opera House 4 years ago. And this is the perfect example to sum up this session. Can I please have the video played?